Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Breaking Voices. I am your host, Harold, and today we are going to dive deeply into the heart of Canadian politics. As you understand that we are having issues in Ottawa where accusations of foreign interference, high-level political involvement, and the role of CSIS has shaken the nation. Now, as you know, there was a testimony recently in whereby the Liberal Party members and the cabinet ministers were all there to give their part of the story of what took place with respect to China's involvement into the recent 2019-2021 elections. So it all began with this bombshell testimony from whom a former CSIS director. He revealed starkly that there were attempts by foreign powers to sway Canadian politics. And this revelation sent shockwaves through Parliament and raised urgent questions about what the integrity of our democratic process is. But what exactly did this testimony entail, and how has it implicated the highest levels of government? We think that we should have transparency, and we think that we should have total honesty, from the politicians. But are we getting this really? Well, I don't think so, because when you look at Parliament these days and see what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a situation where we are very either confused as to who we should vote for and what's happening in the government and power, what they're doing, because we put them in the power. But anyway, that's another issue for another time. Now, let's start with a bit of the testimony and what do we know so far about the alleged foreign interference in Canadian affairs. Well, the testimony presented by the former CSIS director shed a light on what covert affairs and efforts by the foreign entities to manipulate Canadian politics through various means, obviously, and include disinformation campaigns, infiltration of political circles, and even financial backing of certain political candidates or parties. And we understand that it's coming from China. And these revelations underscore the vulnerability for democratic institutions to the point that influence and we emphasize the importance of vigilance in safeguarding our sovereignty. Indeed, it's definitely a sober reminder of the challenges that we face as Canadians on a day-to-day basis, whether it's on Prince Edward Island, right across to Vancouver, or Quebec or Ontario. But ladies and gentlemen, we're having a lot of issues. Please understand. It's really a sober reminder that we are living in an interconnected world today. And now let's turn to the Prime Minister and see how he responded to the allegations put forth by certain lawyers from the opposing side. Now, the Prime Minister has been quick to condemn any attempts at foreign interference, as you know. And he pledged full cooperation with CSIS in the investigation. Really, is that true? To a certain extent, I believe so, but to a greater extent, he tried to put them down. And however, questions have arisen regarding the extent of the government's knowledge prior to the testimony, and whether sufficient measures were in place to detect and counteract such interference. This has been pressure on the Prime Minister to provide clarity and reassurance to the Canadian public. As you know, Canadians really need to understand what is taking place. That if you have a system whereby it's easily interfered with, then our vote doesn't matter, right? Well, it's a delicate balancing act between the Prime Minister, obviously, and CSIS. Who do I believe? I certainly believe CSIS, definitely. I don't think, honestly, I believe they're probably very truthful, very honest, and they would not come up with a lie to tell the Prime Minister because they know how serious it is. And as you know, CSIS is our primary intelligence body here in Canada, and it's very similar to the CIA. And they play a very crucial role in identifying and mitigating threats to foreign entities, right? But yeah, so we talk about foreign interference. Now, their interference, their testimony has been pivotal. in bringing these issues to light and see where they stood with respect to our national threats. However, there are many questions were raised about the resources and the capabilities available to the CSIS and in combating what sophisticated crimes and forms of interference by foreign governments. And I know India might be part of it. China definitely is. Russia to a certain extent. Iran has a lot of involvement here. There are a lot of countries have involvement in Canada, ladies and gentlemen. Canada is not innocent by any means and any stretch of the imagination. We live in a very complex world, and there are a lot of challenges as we navigate these turbulent times. We expect that Canadians would expect in the coming weeks that we're going to have probably a summation from whom the judge was in the case. Yeah, I hope so. I anticipated that there'll be heightened threat down the road, and there'll be more scrutiny on all these political activities, which probably increase collaboration between government agencies, between the CIA, the RCMP, and whoever the other bodies might be. But we need accountability, ladies and gentlemen, in our very democratic process. Ultimately, the moment presents itself that we have to reaffirm that that CSIS has the commitment to uphold the side of the security, and on this side, we need democracy and resilience to face a lot of external threats in our democracy. As you know, our democracy is very fragile at this point in time. As you know, Trudeau basically has taken away liberty and the internet. When you try to Google any information, much is not coming from Canada. So that tells you how much Canada has been